Hey folks, welcome back to the channel, your home for all content Marvel Mystic Mayhem. I know I'm a day late to this video, but I wanted to get it out and sort of give you my take and provide maybe some insight into what they're talking about in the Road Ahead blog, the Journey Ahead, basically that gives their roadmap for, I think, basically the next year. So let's get into it. First, they talk about how they had 1 million downloads worldwide. Interesting for me because, obviously there were 5 million pre-registrations. And so I guess 4 million people just didn't get their pre-registration rewards. I kind of think this is the case for a lot of games where basically the pre-registration reward number is a way to hype up the game itself and is completely fake. But I'm glad they gave us the free rewards. Let's move on. Okay, what content updates are coming in the near future? Infinite Mayhem will receive new updates every Friday. I like this. Infinite Mayhem mode, if you haven't played it yet, is basically the infinite sort of wave mode. You kind of keep going and see how many characters you can, or enemies you can kill. I think this is good to keep it fresh. I hope it's not just swapping out buffs though, and like what applies there. I think they should maybe change up the objectives or something to really mix it up. They're usually pretty good about that, or so far they've been pretty good about making sure that the game modes sort of stay fresh by rotating them out and swapping new things in. I like Infinite Mayhem because it level syncs your characters. So everybody goes to level 30, and that means that you can try out new characters without having to reset them, put resources into them, and then reset them again if you don't like them. Just kind of like, okay, I want to try this team comp. Let me just try it out real quick. So it's a very, very good mode for that. It's almost like a sandbox mode in that sort of sense. July 7th, that was yesterday, already. So the game of Conchu has already come out. It's basically the other roguelike mode with Crimson Campaign. I would say that they're very different flavors of what roguelike modes can be. If you haven't played it already, it's more item focused and it's a 5v5. It's kind of completely different. So I'm going to try and do a video about that because there's some pretty good strategies and tips and some things you should know if you want to make the most out of it. And it's a pretty decent way to get some good artifacts. I know a bunch of people in my guild have gotten gold artifacts out of playing Game of Conchu. So that's a good way to do that. Look forward to that video. July 10th, we're officially launching the uniform functionality. Okay, so this video here with Hydra Supreme here, people were saying it was maybe a boss. I think this is going to be a uniform now after reading the dev update. So that will probably launch then on July 10th in a few days here. My worry is that the cosmetics will have stats on them and that you will only be able to get them by purchasing them, and that will just sort of be a pay-to-win mechanic. I would much prefer that they're completely cosmetic and that people can sort of, if they're not going to pay for it, they can sort of grind their way to whatever uniform they want for their favorite character. I think that would be really awesome, but I do like that you can mix things up and get a different look for the characters. There's 26, 27 characters right now in the game, so it's good to be able to give them different looks and let people sort of customize what they want. All right, this is the big one. July 17th, a mysterious collaboration event will go live featuring a new storyline, unique stages, and 4 new playable characters. Stay tuned to our official channels for the latest update. I think we all know with the coming of the Fantastic Four movie that this is probably going to be Fantastic Four. July 17th, that also happens to be when Captain America's banner ends. So my guess is that at least some of these characters are going to be in a banner. One thing I could imagine is that you essentially have one of the characters as a 3-star. So it's going to be, Human Torch, The Thing, Invisible Woman, and Mr. Fantastic. So some of them are going to be 3-star. Maybe some of them are going to be 2-star. The banner will be a 3-star rate up. And then the 2 stars that go with it are going to also have a rate up. Kind of like basically how a normal banner runs right now. But that means we have 3 characters and we have 1 left over. So what would be nice, rather than also having a banner for that character or have it split somehow, is that by completing the storyline and unique stages and whatever content that is going live, you then get that character. I think that would be really cool. So it's sort of, maybe they'll feature like a rescue mission type thing. They have to save one of the members of Fantastic Four, and at the end of that, you get that character. I think that would be nice, a nice bone to throw people and not just have everything go to a new banner. And then July 31st, we'll enter the next themed version, expanding the story and content available to players. So that's basically when this theme ends and the next one starts, and I'll get a little bit more into that soon. Okay, update cadence. What is the long-term update rhythm for Marvel Mystic Mayhem? So starting in July, A new themed version will be released every 6 weeks, and each major version will unlock a new Dreamscape zone where players can rescue trapped heroes, explore unique nightmare environments. So my hope is that this rescue trapped heroes is a way to unlock heroes and not everything is behind like just summoning with a banner. But maybe that's what they mean by rescue trapped heroes is summoning with a, on the banner. I hope not. New story chapter, 2 to 3 new playable heroes, new challenge stage, and new Nightfall boss. So a few things I want to talk about here. New story chapter. The last story chapter currently in the game opens up at level 61, I believe. And current max level is 70. So what I'm not sure about is whether they're going to continue to keep raising the max level, or it's just going to be an additional story chapter that you can play through, get the rewards for the first time, playing through it. And then again, I hope that you get some sort of reward for going through the story and completing the story. It seems like they care a lot about it. So there should be some sort of good reward for completing the story. Right now, the story modes do give you some of the shards basically for certain characters. So maybe they'll continue with that. I hope so. But this is interesting to me, a new Nightfall boss. So every 6 weeks, we will be getting a new Nightfall boss. I hope because Fantastic Four is coming out soon that the next theme, I know the characters won't be the main Fantastic Four in this next theme, but maybe we'll get 2 to 3 new playable heroes kind of related to Fantastic Four. I don't know, maybe Silver Surfer or something else. Obviously not Doom. It would be nice if the next theme was also Fantastic Four related. The 2 to 3 new playable heroes won't obviously be the Fantastic Four, but, somehow related to Fantastic Four. And then the Nightfall boss was something like Galactus. What's interesting to me is that 2 to 3 new playable heroes over the span of about 6 weeks. I think that could mean that each of these heroes ends up being on a banner where each banner is 2 weeks. But again, with the new story chapter, I'm hoping that is not the case and that at least one of them is something that you can just sort of get for free by playing the story. A new challenge stage, I'm not entirely sure how interested I am in this, whether this is just referring to challenges, which I think are fine, but not the most engaging content for me. If this is just tacking something on at the end of the challenges, then I'm not sure I really care. But the Nightfall boss, 2 to 3 new playable heroes, and new story, I think are the most interesting to me. How often will new playable characters be released? Well, we aim to release 2 to 3 new characters with every major version. Those themes that come out every 6 weeks, tied closely to the evolving story. I really hope that means that you get some as a result of completing the story. Typically include both 3-star and 2-star characters. So I imagine that they could include the 2-star characters as the story release and that you have to pull for the 3-star characters. In addition, special themed events like this Fantastic Four thing may occasionally adjust the release rhythm of new characters. So they have 26 characters on launch, 27 now with Captain America. This is also why I think it's good to get some uniforms out, just so that people can customize them. 27 characters. It's a good amount, and I feel like the way that they've structured it, this game, you really can mess around with just that limited number of characters and get a lot of different varying results because teams are not really cookie cut at the moment. But it will be good to kind of roll out some more of these characters. All right, story progression. Season 1 of Marvel Mystic Mayhem centers around the arc titled Crown of Nightmares. This season is planned to unfold across 8 themed versions, each spaced 6 weeks apart. So 8 times 6 is what, 48? So 48 weeks, that's basically 11 months. So one season is 11 months out of the year. They've already started working on season 2. What I would like to get more information on is what is the difference between seasons? What is going to change season to season? Is this season going to culminate in us trying to take the crown from Nightmare? Is it going to culminate in us trying to battle Nightmare? And then there's a next sort of big bad boss that comes afterwards. I think the setting of the game, they have a lot of freedom to kind of play around because the Dreamscape stuff gives them sort of liberty to make little pockets of different art style, different looks, different whatever. They can really control how they do that. They seem to be very invested in this story, though. And this means to me that they've at least started thinking about season 2 and what the game is going to look like a year from now in terms of story. New gameplay systems. This is something I'm probably the most interested in. So, yes, in addition to the content above, they're working on several gameplay systems that will be introduced in future updates. Alliance War. This is big for me. I think that they need to add a little bit more content that revolves around community, and there was basically nothing really to do with your alliance at the moment. And so this will be a good step in the right direction. I'm curious how they're going to lay it out. If it's going to be something like Marvel Strike Force, where you kind of set defensive teams and then you go on offense. I guess Territory War and Swigo is basically similar to that. Or if it's going to be more of a live event. I don't imagine it will be, but I'm very curious to how they're going to roll this out. Every game mode they have is kind of got a little twist compared to other games that I've played. So I'm curious where they're going to take this one. And then Superflow Challenge and Solo Mode. Superflow Challenge, if this is just challenges on steroids, again, I'm not going to be that interested, but I am curious what this is going to be. I hope it's not just challenge, but the boss is now a damage sponge. That would be not interesting to me. But you know what? They haven't done too much wrong in my opinion so far, so we'll see. And then Solo Mode, I don't have any idea what this means. Does this mean you put one character in? Does this mean that you can use your whole roster? This is kind of my hope, is that they get a game mode where you can sort of use a wide variety of your characters. Memento has that, but it's for Memento, it's like checking a box, like these characters reach a certain level, and not how do I use all of my roster together to, kind of solve different challenges, which I think would be a very interesting mode for us to have. So this is just the beginning, and then I think they're going to continue giving us updates pretty regularly here. The communication from them, I would say, is not super detailed and frequent, but there is at least some communication. I think this is a pretty decent roadmap for the next year. My main concern is basically how they're going to introduce characters. So they didn't discuss at all what happens after a banner ends. Do those characters then get folded into the regular banner and you can pull on them there? Is there a waiting period between that happening? We'll know in a few days, I suppose, with Iron Man, but I would like to have a little bit more information on that. And I would also like to know what their idea for sort of an end game loop looks like. How do they want to keep players engaged when they reach max level? What's the idea there? How do you get people to keep coming back? And that's one thing I actually want you all to let me know. What would be a mode? How would you design a mode to make sure that you can keep coming back and playing Marvel Mystic Mayhem? That's something I've been thinking about a lot. What does this end game look like for this particular game? Okay, so those are the two big things I'm concerned about, is the gacha system and the banners and how the heroes become available after the fact. And then what does the end game look like? I really wish that there was a little bit more specific details on some of these things that they plan on having come out, with the caveat, of course, that things can change as development continues to happen. But I would have liked a little bit more details as to what this means, and what some of these themed versus seasons look like. What exactly is changing between all of that? But let me know what you think down below. Especially want to hear about what you think an end game progression loop should look like. But that's it for me. Thanks for watching. Take it easy.